Hi, everybody. This is Patty Sliney, Handy Quilter National Educator. And we had a question come up on the Pro Stitcher Quilters Facebook group. One of our members asked how to use the little truck continuous line designs that come in Pro Stitcher and connect them all so you can group them and make them one single design to be used in an all over edge to edge design. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'm going to show you two different ways to connect these designs. One is a method that is available for Pro Stitcher Premium users. It's a tool that's only available in Pro Stitcher Premium. But then I'm going to show you another way to connect them that our Pro Stitcher Lite users can take advantage of. And it can be used with premium users as well. So two different ways to connect things. So let's go ahead and get some of these designs opened. But first I want to set my Pro Stitcher Premium settings using a tool that we have in Premium. So if I go to Settings, and then I go to Advanced and General. In the right sidebar, down at the bottom, Pro Stitcher Premium has two different load options. This is the default load option, load start point at crosshairs. That means anytime you open a design, the start point is going to open to wherever your crosshairs are. And that is the only option in Pro Stitcher Lite. In Premium, however, we have the second load option called Load Point to Point, which I'm going to touch and select. What this will do is every second and the second and subsequent designs you open to your work area, their start points will load to the previous design's endpoint. So that's what they mean by load point to point. And I can show you how that works. So let's go ahead and go to File, Design, Open, and we're going to browse to the Designs, 1PS Designs, Continuous Line Design. And you know that's where I am because these are green, so that means they're selected. And also here's my file path. It tells me where I am. So it says what I'm seeing here is the continuous line subfolder. So these are just things for you to pay attention to when you're opening a file. This tells you where you are, and this also shows you where you are. So I'm going to go ahead. The first truck design is the cement truck, so I can tap this once and then touch open, or I can double tap. And that's going to load my first design. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open my next truck, and now watch where this loads. The start point of the dump truck is going to load to the end point of the cement truck, just like that. So the start point of the dump truck is on top of the end point of the cement truck. And it will continue doing that. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open the fire truck. And as you see, our designs are always listed alphabetically. So here's the fire truck. And then there does happen to be another little vehicle here that I'll open. It's really cute. It's not a truck, it's a helicopter, but it's kind of in the same vein. And there it is. Okay, so now I have all four designs and they're all lined up, and their start and end points are all on top of each other, which is going to be really handy. I'm going to touch my workspace tab here, and you can see here are my four designs. They're always in order. First one opened on top, so this was design 1, 2, 3, and 4 in order of opening to my work area. So now I want to group all of these. And since I've opened them in the order I want them to stitch out, I don't need to move anything around. I'm going to leave them just like this. This is just fine. And I do recommend open them in the order you want them to stitch out. So instead of opening them alphabetically, let's say you wanted the helicopter maybe here, you would open the cement truck, then the helicopter, and then maybe the fire truck and the dump truck. So have an idea of how you want them to stitch out, what order makes it a little bit easier. So for our demonstration purposes, this is perfectly fine. So I'm going to then touch my Select None button to deselect everything. I know everything is deselected because all my designs are grayed out and nothing in the workspace right sidebar here is selected. Nothing is green. Okay, because they're in the correct order, and I know this is going to stitch first, second, third, and fourth, I'm happy with this order, so I'm just going to select all of them by using the Select All button, and you'll see they're all connected. And we know they're connected because There's a black square between each of them, and we have a temporary group here. Now, if for some reason you had jumps, if these weren't in the correct order, you could, in your temporary group, select one, and then you can use your up or down arrows to move it in a different stitching order. I don't need to do that. These are in the correct stitching order. I know because there's no jumps. It's not like this stitches and then it jumps over here and then jumps back here and then jumps here. We're not seeing that. This is going to stitch 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I am happy with how this is, so I can go ahead and baseline. When I do that, watch what happens to the black squares and watch what happens over here in the right sidebar. Right now we've got 4 separate design elements and I've grouped them in a temporary group, but when I touch baseline, they are now one single design, just as though the digitizer digitized them this way to start with. We are no longer 4 individual design elements. This is one single design element, and my black squares have gone away. So I'm happy with that. So let's go ahead now. Let's create a little quilt area. So I'm going to use simulate here, move my crosshairs a little bit just to get them out of the way. We'll go to area and I'm going to do a 2-corner area like I was making a baby quilt. And so let's say it's 60 by 60. Okay, lap quilt, baby quilt. I'm going to touch refresh down here so I can see my area. Alrighty, so now we've got our design, and you know, that's a little big to me. I think this design is about, I can't see because my record screen is over it, but I think it's about 6.5 inches tall. So I think I want to resize this. So let's go to modify, resize, and I'm going to turn my lock button on so that way I can use one of my aspects. I'm going to use the height aspect. And when I resize my height aspect, it will resize the width of this design proportionally because I have the lock button on. So I'm going to touch in here. Well, let's say I'll resize it to 5. Touch enter, turn my lock button off, and then I'm going to baseline that change. You always must baseline any kind of modification you do to your single design element before you repeat it. Do not miss that step. If you modify a single design element in any way, such as resizing it, you must baseline that modification before you go to your repeat tab and start repeating it. So I'm going to go ahead and touch fill. It can only fill it with 1 horizontal repeat. If it were to put 2 in, it would overlap, which is what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and add an extra one. And then just for good measure, I'm going to add an extra vertical repeat. Refresh this. So that way, I'm going to move my crosshairs. You can see I'm overlapping all the way around my area. That's what I want. But I don't like how this looks. This looks very static to me with the same elements stacked one on top of the other. So I'm going to go ahead and try to offset these. And you do that by going to repeat, wrap, touch your horizontal button. And then when I touch the row half button, this is going to offset every other row by half the width of a single design element. So I think that looks a lot better. So sort of staggers them all. And the same one isn't on top of, they're just not repeated same on top of each other. All right, so I'm very happy with how that looks. I've got full stitching coverage all the way around. Everything is overlapping my area, so I'm going to get stitching all the way out to the edges of my area. So that looks great. I must baseline before I go to modify, crop, and then I'm going to crop outside to get rid of all the stitches outside of my area. I'm going to close the edges so all those start and end points are closed. I love what I've done. This looks great. Going to baseline this, and then I would do a file, save. I prefer to just save my design. I don't need to save the workspace. So I'd save selected and save it to my flash drive. Okay, so that's one way. Let me go ahead and we'll close out just the design. And now I'm going to show you how to connect designs using modify, reposition. So let's do that all over again. So let's go ahead and we will open our cement truck. But I need to change my settings here so it doesn't go point to point. We'll go back to load to start point because I want them to just load wherever. Okay, so I'm going to move my crosshairs so the next one's going to load down here. So now we'll go get the dump truck. Open. Scroll down to the dump truck. Okay. All right, we'll open this. Now, I want these designs to be connected. So here's how you do that. I'm going to move my crosshairs just sort of out of the way so you can see this a little bit better. Now I'm going to go to my workspace tab, and I'm going to select my cement truck by touching my cement truck line. Now I'm going to position this design's endpoint to my crosshairs. And if you're at your machine, real important not to move your machine when you're doing this. So if you want to even drop your needle and then raise it as you go, just so the machine doesn't move, real important that your needle and crosshairs do not move. So I'm going to put this design's endpoint to my crosshairs by going to Modify, Reposition, and I'm going to select Endpoint. And that moves my cement truck's endpoint to my crosshairs. I'm going to baseline that modification because that's good practice. Now I'm going to go to my Workspace tab, select my dump truck, and it's now selected because it's black. Touch my Reposition tab, and I'm going to move the start point. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect these two. So I'm going to select none, select them both. Oop, you shouldn't have that. That's interesting. Let's zoom in on that. Let's see what happens. Let me select none again. Go back to the workspace. I'm going to try multi-select and see what happens. We'll try the cement truck and then the dump truck. There we go. Not sure why that didn't select all didn't work. It should have. But we're looking for that black box. So now I'm going to baseline that, turn off multi-select, and then I'm going to repeat that process. All right. So I'm going to move my crosshairs, whoops, a little closer here, select my merged group, modify, reposition, endpoint, baseline, and back to my workspace just so I can see, okay, I've got a merged group. And we're going to go to File, Design, and I can actually open from here too, because these are the designs that I've recently opened. I'm going to open up the fire engine, and then it's because my crosshairs were right on the end point of the merged group, this loaded right on top. So I should be able to do this. Let's see what happens if we use select all. Okay, now it's working. Might have been just a little bug. And then baseline. Okay, now we're going to do this again. We're going to do modify, reposition endpoint. Don't move your machine, which moves your crosshairs. Then we're going to open the helicopter. So File, Design, and I'll open the helicopter. Start point, because this is load, start point to crosshairs. The start point should land right on top. There we go. And then again, select none, select all, baseline. And then I would save this. You can name it whatever you want, and then we can repeat it just like we did. Okay, we'll use fill. Add that horizontal repeat, add one more vertical. Refresh so you can see better. Then we're going to go to wrap, horizontal, and then offset it by half the width of the single design element. Baseline, you must baseline here before you go to modify crop, outside edges, last baseline before you do a file, save, and the only option we have in Lite would be selected. So I hope that's helpful, and I hope you have a lot of fun. You can practice this if you want in Pro Stitcher on your laptop in simulation like I'm doing so you can get the hang of it, and then go to your machine and give it a try. So happy quilting!